This is the Kingsley key locker. It's the 5th highest rated lockbox on the Airbnb forums. If you're here to find out if you should use this on your rental property or your Airbnb, the answer is no. If you're here to find out why, stick around. I'll show you. All right, let's take a look at some of the details of this Kingsley lockbox. I got this on Amazon, $16.95. And I am truly struggling with how in the world they come up with these ratings. It got 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm more and more convinced that these star ratings are probably based on price. The lower the price, the more stars. People just don't seem to have an idea, any concept of real security. And I say that because the outer casing on this is made out of plastic. Inside, of course, this is a cast aluminum. So that's, I guess, one positive thing. But having a plastic outer case that can easily be pulled away to give you access to the seam, probably not a good design feature. But since we're not really talking about physical attacks, this is about picking. That's really how I'm going to focus on. Another weakness we've seen in some of the previous Airbnb, the more highly rated ones, is that they have a continuous pin all the way through the hinge, and we're able to take a punch and push that pin all the way out, and then open it from the hinge side, thereby bypassing the entire locking mechanism altogether. This is the one thing I think they have right. They have 2 separate pins, so they've been pressed in all the way. There's no real way to get them back out. So hinge-wise, it's probably not a bad design. Unfortunately, they incorporated a lot of other design weaknesses that we've seen in some of the other boxes. There is no release lever. Instead, this one would be bolted to the wall. There's a piece of foam here, I guess, to prevent damage to your door sill or wall or whatever. But you have to grab a hold of the outside of this and pull the outer casing down to get it open. Now, it's not dialed to the right combination, but by pulling on this, we can put pressure on the wheels and we can pick it that way. This is not bolted to a wall, so I'm going to have to use one of the other exploits. And that'll be the feeler gauge. It's almost like these guys all copied the same faulty design. Our feeler gauge will slide down on either side of these wheels. All I need to do is try to find the notch that lines up with the locking bar. It's going to be on one side or the other. I'm gambling on the left because all the other poorly designed ones have always had the gates on the left. So let's try that. I am going to zoom in a little bit. Maybe you guys can get a little bit better view of what's going on. And I'm also going to use a probe to keep my fingers out of the way like I've done before. And as I rotate this, that little tip will fall into the cutout on the wheel. And there it is, right there on 5. And you can see I'm kind of moving the wheel a little bit. And let's try this guy. And there it is. You saw it fall in. So 5, 7. And what I'm really trying to do is just line up all the gates. And once I get all the gates lined up on the top, it may or may not open. There's 3, and the last one is right there. It is 1. Let me show you what we got here. When I slide that by it, you can see it and hear it fall into that gate on every single one of these. And there's absolutely no doubt that that is a very significant cutout on that wheel, making it very easy for us to find. Now I'm going to back the camera out a little bit so you can see now if this were bolted on a wall, I'd have to put quite a bit of pressure on it to release the spring-loaded locking bars on the inside, but we're not on the correct combination. Now we know all the gates are lined up. Now we just need to rotate these one number incrementally across here until we line up the cutouts with the locking bar. So I'm going to rotate this one to 4, 6, 2, and 0. And then give it a good tug. And I got nothing. 5, 1, 0. 9 rather. Got nothing. Now the thing, when you rotate these, make sure the numbers are perfectly aligned. Don't leave them halfway. If they are, like if I had only set him like that, for example, it would get a total failure. They have to be lined up perfectly. Okay, now the gates are almost on the opposite side. We should be getting close. I feel it giving. I can feel it. I see they can feel a gap up at the top, which leads me to the next weakness. Before we take a look at that, let's take a look at the locking mechanism. Inside of here are these spring-loaded little locking wedges, one on each side. There is a positive block, so when the numbers are not dialed correctly, there's a positive block to keep those compressing, so there's no way to use a shim to bypass this lock. These two little cutouts engage in two locking pawls located on this would actually be the back, the part bolted to the wall. Now, if we take a look at these guys, see that little V? Unfortunately, that's a built-in weakness. This is fairly light gauge cast aluminum. So what I would think is when this were locked, because this is a plastic cover, I could either pull this up on the side to expose the wedge, or more conveniently, you can actually see, located right here, there is the unshielded crack or seam between the back plate and the front cover. If this were locked, you could very easily take a screwdriver, use the plastic as a guide, and then wedge it open, and you'd probably, my guess would be, I'll get this to work for me around the camera, you would probably shear off these two locking lugs at that pre-weakened position. Again, it's so easy to pick these, I just don't think that a physical attack on them is necessary. Anyway, guys, I would have to say stay away from the Kingsley lockbox. Even though it's rated highly, gets a lot of stars on Amazon, I would not trust my house or Airbnb or rental property to something this insecure. Appreciate your time. Stay safe. Stay legal.